You are
Hey
good.
everyone, my name is Frank Klesitz. Welcome. You're here on a live webinar with Tony DiCello, the great, uh, probably one of my mentors when I started Viral, someone who I respect greatly and someone who has a wealth of experience on how to sell houses, but more importantly, a depth of experience to understand core key principles of marketing and selling professional services in real estate so you don't get caught up in a lot of different shiny objects. And if you want to Google Tony DiCello webinar, I did an interview with Tony maybe a year ago or so ago, where we started with kind of what the 33 touches that was written maybe in 2006 in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and we updated it to a 36 touch and what that recommended plan was from Gary. But today we come to you with a little more of an urgent message. Lots of changes happening in the real estate space. How do you compete? You know, you're going to have discounters, disruptors, lots of people going after the agent commission, especially here this summer. I know Redfin's, coming for a lower commission environment with tons of advertising in the entire country. And how do you compete against that? And that's the whole topic for today with Tony, is building a strong database. So Tony, you ready to get started, my friend? Everyone wants to know how to sell homes. They want to know how to build a database. Let's talk about it.
I'm ready.
All right. So why don't you give us the state as you see it, as Gary sees it, of real estate today?
Okay. So right now, we've got three shifts going on, and I think we have to look at all of them. In the core of surviving and thriving in all these shifts is the aspect of having a set number of people you work with and nurture and develop. So Gary believes we're going through three shifts. One is an economic shift, and that's the stock market's a little wacky. The whole economy is just, we're good, we're not so good. It's very volatile. The second shift we're seeing in real estate is a technology shift. And then the third shift is the sales shift. I just saw on Inman I think it was Inman, that there were less than 5 million sales in 2018. In 2017, we had 5.3 million sales. It said we had 4.99 million or 5 million pretty much. So it's a drop of 300,000 sales. Really, Frank, it's a drop of 600,000 sides. That's a lot of business to not have from one year to the next. So, and Gary believes that the biggest disruptor we're facing right now is technology. And I'm sure you're seeing that in your world too, that technology, companies are building their businesses on technology, as is Keller Williams right now. And what's going to happen to that technology is our functionality is going to disappear. So those of us that saying we give great customer service, that's not going to be an aspect anymore, because great customer service is going to be provided by machines, or technology will do all the paperwork. So we're going to have to be on the relationship side of the transaction. We at Keller Williams call that fiduciary. We have to build that fiduciary relationship. So like you and I talked about a second ago, I believe that the database is not a necessity anymore. It's an absolute requirement and survival tool that we're going to need to be successful in the real estate industry from now on.
That's because people pay more for a feeling and the premium on the commission to guide them and protect them than what a machine can provide.
That's exactly right. You know, if you watched 60 Minutes, it was 2 Sundays ago, there was a gentleman they interviewed who has the largest AI company in the world, and it's in China. And he basically said, there's one thing that AI probably will never do, and if they do it, it'll be in the next 100 years, is to replace the human spirit, the relationship that we want with each other. And so that's going to be the only part left in real estate not done by machines. And if you're reading the book, What to Do When Machines Do Everything, it basically says on page 80 that if your business is built around a functionary relationship, that's going to disappear and you don't stand a chance of surviving. We have to build that functionary relationship. I was just talking to somebody this morning. Frank, Do you think Amazon bought Whole Foods just to get in the food business, in a grocery business, or did they get into Whole Foods to be in a relationship business?
They have a very strong relationship with a affluent consumer.
That's exactly right. Casper Mattresses doesn't sell they sell mattresses over the internet. They're also building 2,000 brick and mortar store, or 200 brick and mortar stores. What's the most valuable dollar per square foot store in the country, in the world, basically? Apple. Yeah. Apple sells more per dollar per square foot. Yeah. Little stores with a lot of moving of product. There's Google stores. There's Microsoft stores. Everybody that's in technology is now going to bricks and mortar to build the relationship. You've been talking about building relationships since you basically got in the business of doing what you're doing. Yeah. Build a relationship with people and build it on the front end, and the business comes on the back end, rather than business on the front end and the relationship comes on the back end with referrals. We almost have to build that relationship on the front end to get the business in the first place.
You know, that's great. I want to add to that really quick. Let me kind of show people an example of what that looks like.
Great.
Let's just use newsletters. You basically lead with a newsletter to build the relationship by publishing videos and content. Mm-hmm. So people spend time with you online to create the feeling that you can protect and guide the client as a fiduciary.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because people will pay more for a feeling than anything else. I mean, you can ask my wife with handbags. It's the same handbag, but I feel better with that one.
That's right? Exactly right.
Right?
Yep.
So let me just kind of give a quick example. There's an agent, and there's a lot of these, but Silicon Valley, very, very competitive market, San Jose area. Mm-hmm. This is an example of kind of what that looks like. Let me share that really quick. Of something like this. You see my screen there, Tony?
Yep. So
you would start, you know, the Austin Real Estate Journal, the Austin Real Estate Newsletter, brought to you by you, the agent, and you start publishing these educational videos to help people make smart real estate decisions and better connect the community, interviewing your vendor partners, interviewing clients, publishing tips with all your call to actions on the right. This is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So this builds the relationship on the front end, mm-hmm. and is used as the platform for your touch program for your database.
Yep.
So now people get to know you and see you and create that feeling. So they'll pay what you ask, right?
Yep.
So I thought I'd show the example of that. So let's keep going, Tony. What else are we seeing competitive wise, why people need to pay attention to this now and why we have this urgent message?
Well, I believe a couple of things. One is we're buying leads. We're buying Zillow leads. We're buying leads. Well, Frank, you and I know that's not a lead. It's a name on a piece of paper that you have to nurture to a lead. Then that becomes a contract, that becomes a closing. So these leads are 18 to 24 months out. I don't call that a lead. I call that the potential to do what you're talking about, is that gives you the potential to build a relationship with them by creating a value proposition that says, I'm going to become your trusted advisor, not only in real estate, I'm eventually going to become your trusted advisor in everything. Mm-hmm. You know, I noticed on one of them, it was about estate planning, I think. Well, we can become their wealth advisors. You know, Carrie Keller wrote a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. We can become their wealth advisors, not only there in other places, or have connections with other people, like the businesses you're building relationships with, that you can help them do better with their money. So, you know, people that have good databases and are providing concierge services for their databases. I talked to one fellow in San Diego, and he says one of his number one calls is, I got friends in town, where's a good blank restaurant? You know, what's a good Chinese restaurant? What's a good steakhouse in San Diego? What would you recommend? He says, we're getting into the other parts of their lives. So we eventually will become their trusted advisor in everything. So we're training them to call us for everything. And that's what you're creating with the programs you're running.
Yeah. And what you find is essentially, you start a newsletter, which the 33 touch, 36 touch, we're going to get into that,
Right.
but you have to have something a little wider. This is what Tony, I believe, is trying to say. Something a little wider scope than just basically sending out how great you are as a real estate agent and how many homes you sold.
Absolutely.
It needs to be a little
Absolutely.
bigger. It needs to be a little bigger container. And that could be your newsletter, almost your newsletter that is the mission to help people make smart real estate decisions and to better connect the community.
Absolutely. If somebody's got a plumbing leak.
Here's an example of that again.
Yep. Okay. If you've got a plumbing leak, they should call you instead of Angie's List or Home Advisor. Why? Because Home Advisor is just sending you somebody that is paying them to be on that list. You're going to screen these people. You're going to get them a discount. You're going to use these people for your home inspection items that you're taking care of, and you're sending them a valuable person that you have a great relationship with, that is good at customer service, is going to give them a good experience, and you're going to get the plumbing job done too. So that's the kind of stuff we have to look at. That's what I mean by a trusted advisor. It's just not a name because somebody's writing you a check. It's somebody you've screened, gone through, and know when they come to their house, they're going to do a good job for them, and it's going to be a great experience. Because right now, that's the big thing. Everybody's talking about what kind of a customer experience are you going to provide. And if we can provide a great customer experience in a bigger box, they're not going to go to Zillow to check out a home. They're going to call you. They're not going to go to Home Advisor or Angie's List to get a plumber or a roofer or an electrician. They're going to call you. And if you're training them to call you on everything, then they're going to call you on everything, including when they sell, when their friend's going to sell, when their aunt's going to sell, when their uncle's going to sell, when their mother's going to sell. They're going to call you for everything. That has to be a training process. It just doesn't happen.
Well, let's talk about how to make that happen. And I want to go back to how you doubled your business, I believe, in the early 90s by sending out 2 letters a month.
Yeah.
And we'll get into maybe how that applies.
I went to a seminar in fall of 1989, and the gentleman said that we have to tell people that we're successful realtors. He said, most of us send, he called it garbage. He said, you send useless stuff to people, like turn your clock back. Well, everybody in the world tells you to turn your clock back. So he said, demonstrate to them you're a great realtor. So what he said is do 2 mailings a month. Mailing number 1, Frank, is I would send them a copy of all the listings I took the month before on a single page. Okay, remember, there's no computers, there's no fax machines, there's no technology of any kind. So U.S. Post Office was the only way of getting things there. The big technology was carrier route sorted. So you saved a little money, and that's when bulk mail was like 12 or 13 cents a piece. And he said, so if you took 10 listings that month, send 10 one-page flyers on that listing, bound it together, and send it to them. And so what I did is on the first Friday of every month, I sent all the listings I took the month before. And then on the third Friday of every month, I sent a list of all the buyers and exactly what they were looking for. And I sent it to a list of approximately 1,000 people. And at that time, you could do address correction requested. So that kind of cleaned up my database. But in a 4-year period after I started that in 1989, and my GCI at the time was about 200. And within 4 years, I was like 970 was my best year. So it basically quadrupled my business, and all I did was touch my database. I was touching them between 30 and 35 times a year. I did the mailings twice a month, and I did the phone calls, and I did some other mailings along the way. So I was touching them between 30 and 35 times a year, and it quadrupled my business in 4 years. Absolutely changed my whole life.
And there's so much that Tony said there we have to drill into. So you just started with 2 simple touches a month out to a list. Then it was mail. Now it could be email.
Yep.
You obviously had call to actions with that
Yep.
said, here's what I do and I can help you.
Yeah. It goes kind of basically the listings were Tony just listed, who do you know that would like to buy this house, and my phone number.
But you could be very functionary back then.
Yeah.
Like that. So now we want to wrap it, maybe take that, wrap it in a container of how do we deliver with technology.
Right.
And maybe include some helpful educational pieces like we showed earlier.
Absolutely.
To build.
It needs to be more fiduciary. It needs to be educational. It needs to say, here's what we can do. Here's what's happening. We really don't need to send them information. We need to interpret the information we send them.
Very good. So you also said in there you cleaned up the list. So let me pull back some examples really quick of maybe what people can do on this webinar now on what we shared in the first 15 minutes. So again,
ours was address correction requested because they sent it back to you and said these people no longer live here, and here's their new address, or FOE, forwarding order expired. They moved more than a year ago and you didn't even know it, and I don't even know how to get a hold of them anymore. So we got a lot better things today than we had back in 19.
Well, let's apply this today, but the principles stay the same, but the tactics change a little bit.
Yep.
So, you have your allied resources group, you bring in your testimonials, you have your call to actions for a home valuation, a home search, and you create a publication for yourself. Just create it, and you're the editor of it.
That's exactly
name it whatever you want.
Yep.
Right? Brought to you by you, and it gives you a bigger container with the mission of educating people how to make smart decisions in real estate and to connect the community. How nice is that, right? So now you start publishing these educational videos, as you can see here. He has your call to actions on the right, so on and so forth. All right. I'm just using Brett here because it's the first that comes to mind.
Here's the other thing you're doing. Go move it up forward, move them up. What Brett, not only is he sending him a video, you're also giving him what he talked about in a video in hard copy. So
you have the written version too if somebody doesn't want to watch it, correct?
Well, if they want to go back and check something and go back and say, I can't remember what number 5 was, they don't have to go back. They just drop down, look at what number 5 was, and it's there for them. So I like the idea of being hard and soft, the way you're doing it.
Some people prefer to read, some people choose to watch, but if it goes back to, I want everyone to hear this, if it goes back to how do you create the feeling that you will protect and guide the client? The number one metric is the amount of time someone spends with you online. And if they start watching your videos and spending time with you, there's going to be a preference. I'll pay a little more commission for that person. I want to use that person than some account manager at Zillow.
Right. Guide
me through this very difficult transaction. There's one other thing you said too. You have to clean your database. So let me share with the audience something helpful. Never bounce. Let's say you haven't been communicating with your past clients. You haven't been communicating with the people in Top Producer, Market Leader. KW is building a platform, whatever your CRM is. Maybe you have your contacts on LinkedIn. You have the contacts in your phone. You have all these people, right?
Everywhere.
All discombobulated everywhere, right? Yeah. Well, we got to, export them all. At least the ones you kind of have a loose relationship with, at least. And you want to put that all into one list and upload it to something like Never Bounce that will verify all the emails with like a 99% guarantee that they're clean, to get rid of all the invalid emails, the bounces, and all those other things. So you can actually send them a broadcast message without getting like tripped for spam. So that's Never Bounce. So let me maybe share with you kind of a message that if you want to watch the replay here, you'll get my language of what you would send out to this list, right? This is like everyone you've worked with, all your past clients, your sphere, this is like your whole world. You would email them something like this to say, you're no longer a secret agent and you want to communicate better. I want you to hear it from me and then critique it and what you would add to it. Sound good, Tony? Let's give them something to send out. So, hey everyone, hey clients, friends, colleagues. I'm writing you today because I just wanted to reconnect with you. As many of you know or may not know, I'm in real estate. I sell real estate here in San Diego. And I want to let you know there's a lot going on in the news when it comes to uncertainty about the market, real estate, whatever, right? So I have a newfound commitment. I have started the San Diego Real Estate Journal, or whatever you want to call it, where I plan on publishing 2 helpful videos a month answering your commonly asked questions about real estate. And it could be about investing. It could be about home improvement. In fact, I even plan on better connecting the community by interviewing business owners as well as some cool things that are going on. So I'd love for you to get it. I think it's going to be super helpful. I'm excited about it. But here's the deal. If you don't want to hear from me, it's cool. I know you're kind of getting this email out of the blue. You can click here to unsubscribe. No hard feelings. You can expect your first video here shortly. And if, by the way, you are thinking about selling your home, you can maybe find out what it's worth right here on this link. And if you're thinking about buying a home, you can search all homes for sale on the MLS on this link. And also this email goes right to me. So if you want to reply back with any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. So you make good real estate decisions no matter what that is in your life. I'm here to help. Your trusted realtor and friend, Frank.
See, and that's what you become their trusted realtor, and eventually that'll turn into being their trusted advisor, which will be their trusted advisor on everything. So that's a great message. And chances are they're not going to opt out. What's the opt out? Most people aren't going to opt out. They want to know what's happening in real estate.
Yeah, they won't opt out with something as humble as that. They don't.
Right.
And if you run your email list in something like Never Bounce, it'll get through.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
Great.
So let's talk now a little bit about, you've seen a lot of agents sending out content, their videos. Let's talk about what you don't like. Let's talk about how people are doing it wrong, Tony.
Well, probably of all the videos I've ever seen, I think attempting to be someone you're not is probably the biggest issue. And you've seen more videos than I do. You just have to be natural. One of the other things I'm finding out, some of them get to be pretty long. And I think that's another thing you got to look at is they got to be short, to the point, and that type of thing. And you can't, it's not so much about what you're doing, it's about what your clients are doing, how many houses you're selling, not all about you. It's got to be all about them and the market and the fiduciary, the relationship that you're building with your people. The other thing, some of them I like is now they're putting how long they are at the top, so you can see the
little countdown timer.
Yeah. Well, just basically, here's a 72-second video on a market update. I think to me that's nice because I know I'm not getting it. When I click on it, I know I'm not getting into a 3 or 4 minute video if I don't have the time at that time. So, and I kind of get most of my stuff looking at your client's stuff. That's what I look at that a lot, and it's well done. And for some people, you might not be the face of your company. You might have to find a different face. You have to have being natural and being comfortable. And some people are just not comfortable in front of that camera. So if you're not, figure out another way of getting that message out.
I'll tell you the way to get comfortable. I think people watching this, I'm just in my spare bedroom for my office today, and Tony's at his house. It's very casual, very comfortable, right? Yep. What makes this communication so easy for me and you, if I asked you to make a 23-minute video right now, you'd be like,
yeah,
right?
That's exactly right.
Right, come on, right? But if it's an interview and it's a recorded conversation, I can just have talk, right? And then in editing, you can pull the person asking you the questions out, and now you have your video. So if I would recommend anyone here on this meeting, if you want to get comfortable on video, we're using Zoom. This is a really great video platform. You get yourself a nice webcam like I'm using here. I use the Logitech C920. It's about $60. You can go pick that up online, and you look good. And you can have someone interview you like this. And even with a click of a button, you can go on live on Facebook if you wanted to get crazy, right? But the recording can be recorded, obviously, and saved and edited down to a nice video. And that's probably where I would recommend everyone to start, is just have somebody interview you so you're natural and you're yourself. See that? And you could take it a step farther and go on Facebook. Let me just play an example video.
Okay.
So people can see with a simple webcam and a little microphone easily under $100, where you don't have maybe a giant window behind you for light, which makes you dark. Right. Maybe what you would look like. Let's just play like the first 30 seconds of one of these helpful videos to maybe show the audience what that would look like. Sound good?
That's perfect. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Here we go, everybody. Can you see, Tony?
Yep.
All right, let's press play.
Hello, it's Greg Sisson here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina with the Hoffman Group. Thanks for joining me for my video blog. Today I'm going to share with you the first quarter report card for the Grand Strand. Stay tuned. Okay, thanks for joining me today, and we want to talk this morning about our local market stats. I'm comparing first quarter 2015 with first quarter 2016. This is critical that we can see exactly where our market is right now and give us a little peek into the future as we move forward in the balance of 2016. So let's jump right in. I'm going to start with single family homes, okay? Inventory from this time a year ago in 2015 was 4,138 homes.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yep.
That shot, Logitech C920 webcam, simple mic, interview style, editing out the interviewer so you're natural. How cool is that?
Yep. Greg did a good job.
Yeah, that's the ideal. That's what you're shooting for, and you don't need to get really fancy schmancy with it either.
Nope.
You know. What other mistakes do you see? What topics do you think are good? If people need to know what to send out, what would you recommend?
I would just say keep it relevant to what's happening in the market. If you go into the shift book in Tactic 4, Gary talks about method and message. So the method would be, the video right now is, from my perspective, the strongest because they get to build a relationship with you by seeing you. And then the message has to be a relevant message. And the message today is we got to be a calming factor because right now people are a little concerned about, the stock market moves 300, 400 points a day, up and down and down and up. And so I think we have to be just talking about what's happening in the real estate market, what's happening with interest rates. They're a little volatile. What's happening with the future. I just think we just have to keep talking about the market, providing a concierge service and staying away from, stay away from selling yourself. I think you have to relationship yourself into business with people, not I do this and this and this, so do business with me. Is that making sense? I mean,
well, it goes back to the whole mission of how do you create a feeling that you will protect and guide the client in a very emotional and uncertain situation.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to use the analogy as I want everyone to imagine they just got arrested and you need a defense attorney. Think about that situation.
Yep.
So what do? Ask around, go online, look at reviews. It all looks the same to you. You don't have any expertise.
Right.
Some of these attorneys charge a couple $100. I mean, maybe less, $700 an hour. They're all giving you price quotes all over the place.
Right.
How in the world do you pick your attorney?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you the answer. It's going to be on brand where it's like, well, those guys have defended that. I can't tell the difference in deliverables, but I'll go pay a lot more money for that person because I feel better. Got it?
Yep.
Or, I watched and read a lot of this person's stuff online. I like how they think. I trust them. I watch their videos. This person I think is going to protect me. I'm going to go with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I like to use an analogy of how do you create that feeling that you can protect and guide the client as a fiduciary.
Yep. And here's an interesting thing though. If I had my database and somebody had that issue and I was building a great concierge service, you know what? I could train them just to call me and I could give them, based on me doing a lot of screening for you, 2 or 3 choices at least. So I think when you talk about building a bigger box, I think that's what we want to do. We want to build bigger
container of content and reasons to reach out.
Yep. No matter what situation you're in, we can help you in that area. Because if they can come one place for everything and we can build those relationships, and for us to build a relationship with all these businesses, that it just expands the number of referrals we get because these people are not the ordinary person living a life that can maybe send us 1 or 2 referrals a year. Now you're talking to somebody that can send you 1 or 2 referrals a week or a month.
Your allied resource group. We'll
That's
get into
exactly
that.
right. We call
We're
them
going to talk
allied
about how
resource.
to partner with local businesses here in a second. I want to
Okay.
talk about that. But let's go a little deeper. Let me give you a couple, since I run viral, let me give you a couple of tactical tips for listeners today on some topics. All right. So let me give you a couple ideas. First.
Well, I think you're the best because I copy your stuff. So
Thank you.
I encourage my clients to copy
I appreciate
your stuff.
that. Well, here's how I get good stuff. So the first thing is you have to be listening for questions the market's asking. So if you build some self-awareness when you're prospecting and when you're talking to people, like what they're asking about the town, what they're asking about schools, what they're asking about crime, what they're asking about home improvement, should I upgrade the kitchen or not to sell it, right? All these questions.
Yep.
Great video topic. You ready? Hey there.
That's a fiduciary relationship. That's what a fiduciary relationship looks like.
Those are the best topics because you are literally getting questions from the market and they are on point. And
Right.
You basically start your video saying, hey, I was out with a buyer. It's a hot market here still. And they asked me a great question was, should I include a personal letter with the offer?
Yep.
I don't know. Should you? Stay tuned. Right?
Yep.
So then you go and you kind of tell the story and you answer the question. Isn't that great?
Yep.
And those videos also kind of turn into a library you can use down the road. But that's kind of the idea. That's step 1. Answer questions. Step 2. Find out what people are searching for online. Now, what are people typing in? Well, you want to know how? Go to YouTube. Let me show you guys. So how you go to Google and has like that autocomplete where it pops up?
Mm-hmm.
That literally tells you what people are searching for. So use that. So watch this. Let's go to YouTube real quick. Let's type in sell my home. All right. Sell my home on Zillow, sell my home Tucson. Interesting. How to sell my home myself. Should I sell my home? Those are some topics. Let's type in more loan, home loan. See that?
Okay.
Those will give you some ideas of what people are searching for that you can figure out and use those as titles.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. You just type in what you're thinking about and Google will give you what the top search terms are.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe create something and put that in the title of the content. And that way you're creating content that there's demand for. And one last one, all that Googling that we just did, that's been done. If you go to our website under industries, you'll find some 24 topics we recommend that are pretty standard.
Right.
That
Yep.
work real well. So we have those. So that's that. Now, let's move on. So we're building the data. Well, one of the things I think we actually talked about, we didn't talk about, is we talked about maybe reconnecting with your existing list. We just talked about what to send out. What do you recommend as the frequency? So what's the plan? You reconnect with your list. You're asking permission to stay in touch with everyone you talk to. You're bringing them into your spreadsheet. You're putting them into the CRM.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you start this blog, this newsletter with this mission, this higher purpose, this content. Now give me what's the recommended touch plan that you would recommend? What would Gary's message be to the audience?
Gary's message right now is to touch them at least 3 times a month or 36 times a year or approximately every 10 days. And that would be the core of those 36 touches. 26 of them are what we've been talking about, what you've been showing us. 26 of those would be every other week you would send a video email with a topic. And so you said you've got 24 that you pre-planned.
Mhm.
Today would be interest rates. Today would be the economy.
Government shutdown.
Yep, the government shutdown and the effects of that on housing, the effects of that on getting a loan, the effects of that on selling now and all of that. So that would be the core. 26 of those 36 touches would be that, which would be the video emails that you're going to be sending, providing fiduciary information for them to make decisions with answer questions type of thing. We believe the most important one is to call them 4 times a year. And that would be depending on the size of the database. The bigger the database, your team may have to call, you may have more people calling, but the goal is to talk to them 4 times a year and or leave a message. Then we would have Gary recommends 2 events would be, these are just thoughts. So 2 events would be a client relationship party where you get eyeball to eyeball with them. Where you invite all your people to a movie event, or we used to do end of the year client appreciation parties. There's so many things that people are doing now. Charity events where people would donate to a charity that you've set up your own charity, and I know you talk about that a little bit in your stuff also. So two events where you get eyeball to eyeball with them, and then 4 relationship based on discounts. So saving them, coupons of some type, like you just talked about. You get a discount on this or a discount on that, and those would be coming through your allied resources. And I think right now, a lot of people are starting to do business videos where they're spotlighting the allied resources. Now they're getting greater exposure because you're not only getting that vendor into your database, you're getting into that vendor's database. And I think if you remember at Mega Camp, the one lady said she did it on an small exercise company. He took it and sent it to his whole company, and somehow it got to over 1 million. She got over a million exposure to 1 million people.
Yeah. Just
because she built a connection with an allied resource. And I talked to one gentleman that's doing that, and I said, how did you pick your vendors? He said, I went with the people that had the biggest database that they were sending it to. He said, I started one-to-one that had the biggest database because I got the most exposure out of it.
Oh my goodness. So much here. Okay. Let's break this down for everybody.
Okay.
So here's what Tony's saying. You got to have content, and you need to have something educational and a little wider scope and meaningful.
Informative, yep.
And which we spoke about here.
Right.
And you want to reconnect with your database and let them know that you're going to step it up as a fiduciary.
Right.
Essentially. All right. So now we got to have this touch plan. So Tony's recommending, 2 educational videos a month, fully distributed.
Every other week. So it's 26 instead of 24. Yep.
Got it.
Every other week.
Fully distribute these digitally. I mean,
Yep.
through email, Facebook, iTunes, whatever. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I would still throw in, I don't know if you mentioned it, but this is helpful, is some print, a little, maybe a monthly simple postcard out to your list with one of your latest videos on it. I could show you guys an example, but that's just there. That'd be your 12 more to 26. Calling your list 4 times a year, right?
Right.
To check in. And one of the best excuses to call your list so you're not a pest, you're the invited guest.
Right.
I
like that.
Is inviting them to an event,
Right.
which leads into your 2 events a year. Now, let me give the audience 2 great event ideas. And then I want you to think of 2 out of your experience that have worked very well. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. First, and this works all the time and crushes it, is like the annual ice cream social.
Okay.
So what you do is you go rent an ice cream truck that gives soft serve ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
a couple $100, unlimited ice cream for like 3 hours. Most of them do this. And just tell everyone you're getting the family and kids together for free ice cream at the park day.
Mm-hmm.
Second one, this is from one of our clients, Haro, out on the East Coast. I'm going to share my screen. You ready for this one? Save the date. Mobile pre-SA pre-check. Come on out and get your pre-check.
Oh, wow. I like that one.
You want to break into an affluent community? You want to help out a lot of people that have little time, that fly all the time, that have money? This is how you do it.
Oh, my gosh. What a great idea.
There it is.
Great idea.
There it is. Brought to you by, all these sponsors to help pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. What do you recommend? What have you seen in work?
One of the most unique ones I've seen is a gentleman rented a zoo and had his party at a zoo, and had closed down the whole zoo. It was in Santa Barbara, California. Closed down the whole zoo and had the zoo to himself, and people absolutely loved it because they brought it really was great for the kids, and his response rate of the number of people coming was incredible. And then another one that was, I think, is really unique. Rather than just having a movie, he made it an event. And so he started with probably the second or third Harry Potter. So first of all, you got an invitation to the movie on a Saturday morning. You had to call into a response and confirm you were coming to the movie. The phone was answered by Haggard. In that voice, he hired somebody that answered a phone in that voice.
Oh, that's cool.
You got to the event, and he got a raptor group to come out, and they brought a bunch of owls and talked about owls and raptors and birds of prey, basically, and did that. Then there were probably 10 owls throughout the theater with people. Then he had a contest and answered questions, and then there were prizes for the winners about the previous Harry Potter movies or the books. And so he took the idea of a movie and carried out a whole theme along it. Diana Kokoska did one where it was a Herbie movie, and she rented a Herbie car, and with the windshield taken out, you got to take your picture inside the car, and so you walked away with a picture of you and Herbie. So not just come to a movie, make the movie an event where other things are there that tie into the movie.
I just got to say, there's probably people watching this going, oh, all that foo-foo. I'm just going to pound phones and get some listings. And I'm like, humans don't change that much. There's natural human behavior, and people want to work with someone, especially to remain competitive, where they have the feeling that you will protect and guide them. And doing these events is how you do that.
Yeah,
this is how you create that.
The other part of it is pounding the phones. If you're creating cold every year, you can't create enough. If you want to do 2,000 or 3,000 closings, you can't grind 2,000 or 3,000 closings, because you got to get a tool like your database or your community that you want to do 3,000, 2,500 are going to be just a referral-based business that you'll start with 2,500, and you only got to go find 500. Or even if you want to get to 200, you got to get something that comes back on an ongoing basis that will refer enough business to you that you only have to fill the gap with 100 units or 50 units. You can't start at zero and have big numbers every year. You got to have a database that feeds you 75 or 80% of your business, that you only create the new for only a small portion of it. There just is, and there's so much competition for that name. It's not as easy to cold call and grind like you used to. There's just too many people controlling those names. Zillow gets all those views. They got all those names. They're controlling those names. You got to penetrate them. So you got to build your own Zillow. You got to build your own database, and it's got to be bigger than it used to be. It can't be 100 or 200 people. It's got to be thousands of people.
So let me kind of run down the plan, and then I want to get into bringing in sponsors and other businesses, because this is more important than ever. So everyone listen up. Let's kind of summarize everything we discussed so far. So it's more important than ever with the discounters and disruptions and the trends for the economic and sales and technology reasons, that more than ever as a professional service provider, you have to somehow create a feeling. People will pay more for a feeling than anything else. Think about the passions and where you spend your money. It's not in the deliverables. That you can really protect and guide the client. That's getting people to spend time with you, whether it's offline or online. The more time they spend with you, the more they're going to probably give you money, right? So what we shared here is that instead of just showing them that you sell real estate, we got to kind of create a larger scope, because you have to be this fiduciary where you're like this local economist of choice, and you know the area. You have unique proprietary insights, right? So the way that you do that, and there's many ways to do it, but the way that me and you like, so we'll share, is something like this I shared earlier, creating like the local real estate journal. You can call it whatever you want, Frank's Real Estate Newsletter, something brought to you by your team, where you start publishing helpful educational Q&A based videos, answering commonly asked questions. We'll talk about interviewing business owners. You start putting these online, and I went through some of the ways you come up with the topics and how to shoot the videos in a very interview-based format. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Then what you got to do is, now that you have this, you got to round up your existing list that you've probably been neglecting, clean it up. This will do it.
Yep.
Right here, everyone. And get a message out to them, letting them know that you're no longer a secret agent. That's my joke. It's not my joke.
Yeah.
I think it's been around for years. Okay. And you want to be the guest, not the pest. And you want to do a better job of being a fiduciary to help protect and guide people to answer their questions. You get that email out. All right. So now you have to build your database. And I don't think we covered much on that, but the easiest way, everyone, to build your database is, I don't know, Tony, how many people does a successful realtor speak to a week? Tell me. I don't care what lead source. How many people a week does a successful realtor talk to?
Minimum of 100 a week, depending
100.
on the size of their team. We, through our BOLD program, we suggest 20 contacts a day, 100 contacts a week.
Okay.
I've got clients that are touching, thousands of people a week. So by phone, depending on the size of your team. But how do you build a database? You just start, first, the easiest way to build a database is ask everybody in your database who should be in your database. You can almost double the size of it. And then start helping with businesses, getting their people in your database. Building is the easy part. Nurturing it to a relationship.
Yeah, what you send them.
We got to work with. That's the thing you got to work on.
So if you're,
buy them if you need to. Buy them in the beginning, and then nurture them to a relationship.
and the way that you, in addition to all the things Tony said to build your list, the easiest way is, you know, think of all the work and pain and suffering and rejection and, limiting. I mean, there's so much, human development, success is an inside game, all the work that has to go into, let alone any money you spend to actually speak to 100 people a week, right? Let's say you actually do that. You really want to make sure you end those conversations with a script like this. You guys ready? Hey, Bob, it was great speaking with you. But before you go, maybe what you hear in the national media about real estate is not what's happening here with home prices.
Mm-hmm.
We run a local Austin real estate newsletter with videos we send to our clients twice a month. These videos will help you make smart real estate decisions, and they help connect the community. What's your best email? I'd love to send them to you. They're super helpful, and I think you'll enjoy them.
Yep.
Boom. There you go.
Yep.
That's how you build your list.
Yeah.
So far, this hasn't really cost much money other than some time.
Nope. No, it really doesn't. And then when you start building that relationship, you got to train your people on how to give you business too. So part of that communication is training them on how to give you referrals. Well, it's a training process. They're not born with that idea that they're supposed to give you referrals. There's no referral gene in anybody's body. It's a training process. Just like how do you train people to give you new names for your database too. Mm-hmm. You create all this, and you create it by being a fiduciary and by being if you have a strong enough relationship with them, everybody they know will do business with you. Because you now have built a relationship so deep that it touches everything.
So everyone on this webinar is going to understand the importance of why they need to build and work a database and create a feeling of protection. They've reconnected. They built their blog. They have their newsletter. They have their topics. Now we have to distribute. Let's just kind of run down the distribution plan. Now, obviously, we at Viral help you with this, but anyone can do this for you. Let me share that. So remember how we talked about the interview?
Mm-hmm.
It's easier when somebody interviews you on a webcam to create your videos. You maybe want to professionally edit it like I showed you earlier. I showed you an example.
Mm-hmm.
You want to put it up on YouTube so it shows up on search results with some search engine optimization. You want someone to maybe write an article to go with the video. See that? Remember how you referenced that earlier?
Yep.
You want to send an email out to your list that looks very nice, something like this with the topic and the teaser copy and call to actions to search for homes or come to your event. Then you want to put it up on all the social media, maybe put a little money into boosting it out to your database. You want to turn it into a podcast. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? But this is actually kind of cool. Remember I talked about that postcard? This is kind of what you can't do direct mail cheaper than this. 4x6 postcard, video on the front, call to action in the back. That's the system. Sound good?
Yep.
Now, I wanted to end this today about the Allied Resources Group, because there's a lot of opportunities because all these people have databases, don't they?
Sure
So
do.
now we're going to talk about viral marketing. We're going to talk about word of mouth. Like that? So let me give you an example, and Tony's going to share his ideas here, but let me show you the practical application. Here's an email. How do you handle pests and other problems in your home? As you can see, Dan here is interviewing somebody and yada, yada. It goes out. You click the link. Hopefully this works. Great. It worked. There's the video. There's the coupon. Right? To the pest inspector. There's the coupon in the email. Right? Tony, talk to me. How does someone include the ones in bold are settlement service providers. The ones aren't. There's some legal issues with both. We don't have time for that today, but just in general, talk to me about building and working your Allied Resources Group, maybe how to include them in your touch plan.
Well, we do a lot of business, and we get people calling us all the time, wanting us to build a relationship with them. They're calling us to build their referral base, and we don't call them to build our referral base. Here's the nice thing is somebody in our business needs all these people. And we just have to be the one that goes out and screens them. And what's the nice part of it is they got a big database that they can refer us a lot of people. And what I recommend to the people I coached is you have a preset call with every one of your Allied Resources every month. And that is to let you know, I sent you 3 referrals and I didn't get any back. So let's talk about how many referrals you're going to give me. And then building that relationship with those referral people, because people are going to call them, especially the vendors that they use to get their home ready to sell. You want to have a relationship with those kind of vendors so that when people come in there to change their carpet, and you have a conversation and they say they're selling their house, they're going to call me immediately and saying, the Joneses just dropped in and they're going to be selling their house. They just called about getting new carpeting in their house. So you want, those vendors are going to be almost like a smart zip for you. They're going to find out ahead of you maybe when these people are going to be selling. That's why you have to have a ear-to-ear conversation with them on a fairly regular basis, monthly, if not at least quarterly, with these people. What's happening? What are you seeing? They also give you edges, what's happening in the community. Are people remodeling rather than staying? So they become a source of information for you too, as well as a database. And then you find vendors that have big databases. And I was taught it was called host parasite marketing.
The more appropriate term, the more politically correct term now apparently is host beneficiary.
Oh, okay, got it.
I like host parasite.
Okay,
it's better.
So that's what you want to do, but that's why these people are so critical, and we leave them off. I had one guy that every 3 days a week during his lunch hour, he went and visited all his Allied Resources, person to person. And you know what? He got more referrals by going eyeball to eyeball than just waiting for them to call. He was proactive in getting the referrals. And then he put together a mastermind group with all his Allied Resources.
There you go.
And they would meet once a month, all of them, and he would be there. And he's going, great, I get to talk to all 30 or 40 of my Allied Resources in one place, one time. I'm investing 30 minutes. And the referrals off of it were phenomenal, just phenomenal.
Let me tell
He
you,
was helping them build their business with each other,
yeah.
and he was the common denominator. So he got all those referrals from all those people because he set all this stuff up.
So let me give you guys a practical application of this. Everyone listen closely. All right. So I live on a little outskirt of San Diego in Coronado, and I go see my dentist. And I knew this. So my dentist, I'm getting my teeth done. And I snore. So she's like, we have a snoring solution. I'm like, oh, what is it? Well, you get a CPAP machine, but we have this mouth guard you put in your mouth. It's $3,000. I'm like, what? It's $3,000 mouth guard, like hold your jaw forward. I'm like, man, you probably want more patients to buy this, don't you? And I kind of caught her off guard, like, knowing what I do for a living. She's like, well, yes. I'm like, interesting. How long have you been here? She's like, well, I've been in this little small community, for 20 years. I'm like, 20 years? And I'm assuming all your patients live in this area, right? She's like, oh yeah, the majority of them live here. I'm like, interesting. Huh. So I went on the computer. This is Info USA. You can go to any data company, and in my zip code, single family homeowners, see that?
Mm-hmm.
There are 3,600. So basically you have all these business owners competing over 3,600 homeowners. It's not that big, but these are very affluent homeowners. Okay. So I'm like, you have a database of patients of probably, several hundreds of these individuals. It's like, yeah, they're all patients of mine. I'm like, great. How about we get them together for an event, ask them if they snore, and sell them the $3,000 mouth guard? She's like, that would be amazing. I'm like, yeah. Would you maybe help me put on the cost of this to upsell this mouth guard? She's like, 100%. And I'm not doing this, but I'm just like showing how easy this is. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, we should do I would probably offer the TSA pre-check at the park or at our office.
That is, Ara, I love that idea. I mean,
okay, so go get the mobile TSA pre-check out there and say, hey, you want to come out here, get your pre-check done. I'm your dentist. I want to help you out. While you're here, we'll talk snoring, and we also partner with the local realtor, and now all these homeowners show up. Sounds good to me.
Yep.
What are you thinking of selling? Add them to your database.
Yep. I mean,
what's your cost? Probably nothing. I'm sure the dentist will pitch in to help with that cost.
Yep. Well, there's so many things you could do. I had one of my clients, he went out and just talked about people, how many had wills, and he was in an area like Coronado where the average sales price was, $1.5 million to $2 million.
Yeah.
And 80% of his clients had no will in California. Well, yeah. He built that relationship, went so deep because that was a legacy relationship now. Mm-hmm. So there's so many things you can be doing.
Yeah, there's private bankers here. You have dentists. I mean, you have businesses that have been here forever that have huge customer lists in any zip code area.
Yep.
And they're all fighting over the same market. So if you can get to sponsor an event and cover the cost of the event, and you help get the word out, which there's many ways to do that, mm-hmm. Include them in your videos. So here's kind of the system that we teach at Viral to help our clients. Let me go over really quick. You start like what Tony said as a mastermind group, maybe every 4 to 6 weeks. You get some business owners together for breakfast at Denny's, whatever. All right. And you basically help each other out with business problems and share ideas. And we won't go into how to do that, but I think most people understand the concept of that. And that's the glue that holds it all together.
Yep.
You invite some people that you currently send business to. They bring some friends. It grows very organically. It's not a B&I group. It's a mastermind. Big difference.
Right. That's exactly right.
Then say, hey, I run the, Hackensack, New Jersey Real Estate Journal. Okay. Can I interview you about maybe answering a commonly asked question about that customers ask you? Mm-hmm. And I'll put a coupon in my blog, out to my list, free. What do you say? Sure. Right. You do it. You send it to them. They probably share it with their database.
Yes.
Right. So they get access that way. Follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes so much further where in many respects, and you got to keep it legal, and you have settlement and non-settlement service providers. Non-settlement service providers like a dentist and a daycare don't have as many stringent rules.
Right.
But you could say, hey, I'm doing these events. Would you like to participate? They're going to go, sure. You put it up on Eventbrite and you ask them to help pitch part of the cost. And now you get some money from them to help out, which is fine. They're going to benefit. But also they're going to promote it to their databases, which is probably the same target market you're trying to get to.
Yep. Yeah.
There you go.
If you work a market, like Boulder was a town of only 85,000 people. Marketplace was about 110,000 people. If you got 20 25 different allied resources, telling those 110,000 people about you sure changes the number of people that do business with you, sure changes the number of people that get exposure to you and what you do. So to me, allied resources is probably one of the most overlooked resources we have.
Important. So, all right. So we have family reunion coming up at the time of this recording. Sound good?
Yep.
What's going on? What do people need to get involved in if they want to learn more about this at the event in New Orleans?
Okay. MAPS will have a booth there, and we help you with some of this stuff. You'll be there. I think everybody needs to be at family reunion more for anything than what's going to happen with the technology, and not so much the technology to help you with your real estate business, the consumer technology that Keller Williams is putting together. That's going to be the critical piece, because that technology is going to help you build the relationship we've been talking about for the last hour. That technology is going to make your relationship with them easier, and the amount of information you're going to be able to provide to them will be astronomical. So the people that are going to be at family reunion are going to get that information first. They're going to get implemented first, and they're going to have the greatest opportunity to get a lot of referral business and build deeper relationships. So it's critical that if you're not registered for family reunion, you get registered and then kind of get involved in all the things that the technology is going to be doing, and all the different programs on databases, and merging that with the new technology we're coming up, which is going to be the consumer technology. That's the critical piece. So if you're not registered for New Orleans, do it right now, because every convention, it sold out last year, and if you're going to think you're going to walk in and get in, that's not going to happen. It's going to be sold out with 18,000 people there. So,
well, I will be posting this. It should be up on the MAPS website. If anything, it's definitely up on the MAPS Facebook page. Hopefully we're live streaming, I'm not sure, but you can go check it out there. If you go to Get Viral, we'll have it up on our blog. So it is being recorded. So you can watch the replay with all the kind of good scripts and stuff, and the list of vendors you checked out. And for those of you interested, I was trained by Keller Williams right out of college to sell real estate, and I needed a 33 touch. So basically, very long story short, I started viral marketing. About 60 employees and hundreds of clients to help you execute this stuff. Tony's a fan. And if you guys want to learn a little more about the plan that we talked about today, if you go to getviral.com, this is our homepage, you'll see a link right there to download the video marketing plan. That's essentially what we discussed today, but we went a little more in depth today. So you guys can go read it there. So any parting thoughts, Tony?
Yeah, build a big database and stay in touch with it, and build a huge fiduciary relationship with all your people and become their trusted advisor.
Wonderful. Tony, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, everybody.